Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to the Cynthia Manion Show. Please share this out, tell your friends, and join us because tonight we are honored to welcome Ava V. Manuel. She's a visionary leader in media and the editor-in-chief of the Los Angeles Tribune. Ava is a trailblazer transforming the media landscape to focus on stories of growth, innovation, and social impact. Under her leadership, the Tribune has become a powerful platform. This is the LA Tribune. And she spotlights individuals and businesses who are making a difference in the world. I met her making a difference in the world in LA, up in the hills. Do they call those the Beverly Hills? Doing a Napoleon Hill Foundation fundraiser. And it was really, really fun. We'll show you a couple pictures of that in a moment. Ava is also the administrator of the President's Volunteer Service Award and a dynamic force in driving positive change through media. Please join me in welcoming Ava V. Manuel. Ave Maria.
Wonderful. Thank you for having me, Cynthia. And what a wonderful introduction. Thank you. I am so excited that we are together in the Cynthia Manion Show. Welcome, everybody. I love our chant before coming in. I am awesome. You are awesome. We are awesome. And I love the energy that you bring to the world, Cynthia. So thank you for having me today.
So wonderful to have met you. We're trying to figure that out. Eric, do you want to pop those up? That was in LA, and there's Mo and Ori, right? Mo works with the Los Angeles Tribune with Ava, and they have great stories to share. And then we have another, behind that is a beautiful picture that I bid on and won and funded the Napoleon Hill Foundation event that time. And we've got another one that's fun with Don Green. You're friends with Don Green too. Do you read of course you read the Napoleon Hill books.
Yes, absolutely.
Think and Grow Rich. And
absolutely. Well, I wanted to say the importance of that picture that you have now, that you own now. That is a picture about the United States Constitution.
And it's the very first mastermind.
Yes. Ever. Yes. So I am so impressed that you have that collection item of that wonderful painting of the signing of the Constitution. What a wonderful piece of art. So beautiful.
Yes, it means a lot. My son loves it, and I'm leaving it for him on my death so he can keep it in the family.
And what's amazing is it also was for the benefit of the Napoleon Hills Foundation. Exactly. the whole investment that you made funded the books that are being sent to universities and colleges by the Napoleon Hill Foundation. And one of the key things that I wanted to share was just this December actually, and it just cleared, I think it was January 11, that the first 500 Think and Grow Rich books actually landed on the shores of Kenya. And it's now in the library of the Kenya National Museum through the work of M. Teresa Lawrence, the Trueness Project. So it was donated by Napoleon Hill Foundation by Don Green.
I love that. I'll have to go back by. I've been to Kenya. I lived in the Seychelles Islands for 3 years. So we used to go to the mainland to do our grocery shopping every 3 months. So I'll have to go check out. I'm planning a trip in 2026.
Wow.
So, Eva, can you tell us about your journey into the media world and how you came to lead as the editor-in-chief of the Los Angeles Tribune?
Thank you so
much. Behind her, so nicely displayed.
Thank you so much for the question. Well, I wasn't always, I wasn't always in media. I am a former hospital physical therapist of over 25 years, been taking patients from bedbound to walking to thriving in life. And I have a lot of specialties that goes with that, geriatrics, wounds, and lymphedema. And I have created solutions for people who have repetitive problems with their legs oozing, creating multiple infections in and out of the hospital, just because of how my specialties have come together. And I was looking for ways to be able to teach that on a greater scale, because my impact was one-on-one in the hospital. As much as I was creating impact in, one-on-one with one patient at a time, right? There's 5.7 million people with non-healing wounds in the United States, and about $15 billion a year in non-healing wound, funds that are being used. And I'm like, and I'm seeing patients one-on-one. So I was looking for ways to partner with media so that eventually I could teach doctors and nurses on some of the strategies and the methodologies that I have developed that have healed wounds that haven't healed for 12 years, and I wasn't able to find that media partner because by my dream at that time was like, if I had, because in the hospital healthcare industry, and I can't even blame it because of the HIPAA violation, I can't brag about my results. Like I can't even tell the other doctors that I have healed this because it's a need to know basis. If you don't need to know about it, you don't need to tell it, right? So, but I was hoping, I hope that there would be a media company that would highlight the results that I'm creating, some of the testimonials that my patients are writing for me, and that I would eventually be celebrated as the healing expert of non-healing wounds. And I would teach doctors and nurses, the revolutionary strategies that I know in healing wounds, non-healing wounds. And I did not find that media partner. So I was looking for different ways to be able to educate the public. I learned how to create summits. And in that creation of summits, one of my first guests in my first own summit was a person that was being offered a show at the Los Angeles Tribune. You see how it goes around?
Yeah.
And so at that time, it was the very beginning of COVID, and the Los Angeles Tribune was looking for ways to put a lot of the speakers together whose events were canceled around the world, and they were looking for ways to give back because people were stuck at home, like they were at a stay at home mandate. And so the Los Angeles Tribune wanted to use their platform to bring a lot of speakers together. And although they have weekly shows, by different experts and leaders, they didn't know how to kind of bring that together. And that person who was being offered the show asked if I would like to volunteer. And about maybe six summits in volunteering, I was offered a partnership in the newspaper division. And I tell you, I cried many tears because when I first came in, I felt like I was so not qualified. I felt like I did not graduate journalism. I didn't study journalism. And I felt like, who am I? Supervising other journalists and other, news writers, when I was trusted because of my leadership and my consistency in creating summits, right? And thank you so much, Mo, for trusting me, our CEO at the Los Angeles Tribune. However, I didn't graduate with it. And being someone who's very grounded in education, certification, specializations, and all that, I felt unqualified until I covered an event for Paris Hilton. Paris Hilton was DJing to end youth homelessness. And so you could imagine stars, celebrities are out there, making donations, doing auctions, and there were a lot of performances that came in, and a lot of every media that you could think of was in Paris Hilton's event. And I came to cover the news. And the next day, the organizer kept saying, "This celebrity shared your article. This celebrity shared your article." She keeps texting me, and I'm like, "What's up with that?" And then I started to look online and look at all of the articles about that event because you could pretty much put the event name in Paris Hilton, and you'd see all of the coverage, and they all look the same. And I didn't realize, because I wasn't educated in media, that every event that big would already have a press release written by the organizers, and it's already all distributed to all of the news channels. And so they're just copy and pasting or changing it a little bit or adding more or reducing some, but they basically cover the same thing. But I was educated in healthcare, and in healthcare, what you didn't write, you didn't do. You can't show up on court and say, "I really actually did that, but I just didn't write it." It doesn't work like that, right? What you didn't write, you didn't do. So I'm very, very trained to really document everything. So my article was literally if you go to the Los Angeles Tribune and search up Paris Hilton or Tiffany Haddish, you will see that it was an it was like a deliberation of the whole event. I have every vendor that was on the event. I had the people that were on every booth. I have interviewed them. I was working, and I actually took notes of, and even transcriptions. I auto transcribed, some of the speeches, gave the highlights of the speeches, put all of the awards, the people that were acknowledged, the people who gave money in the auction, and all of that. And then I realized at that moment, the slogan of the Los Angeles Tribune is redefining media and changing the status quo. And I realized at that moment that it actually takes someone who has never been brainwashed in media to redefine media, right? And no, I've never had anyone tear my paper and say, do that again, or like, that's too much, or you're taking too much time. Like, I have never had been beaten up in the newsroom to be told how to write or what to write. I've always, and that's when I realized, I've always been trained to write. I was just trained differently, and that's what I bring in the Los Angeles Tribune. So what's beautiful about what we do in the Los Angeles Tribune, in exactly doing what I dreamed was done for me. You remember that story where I was looking for a media partner that would highlight what I do so I could create a greater impact in the world? Because how many experts and leaders out there are doing so many things on a smaller scale that could really change the world if they had a greater impact, but they are unseen, they're unknown. And that's exactly what I now do at the Los Angeles Tribune, something that I wish was done for me, that I wish I had for myself, so I could create that greater impact in the wound care, industry. But now I do it for others. And so what's beautiful about my process, in like what you didn't write, you didn't do, and the physical therapy aspects and geriatric clinical specialty aspect of my training was that, like, I am trained to gather the different aspects, assessments of wherever the problems are, wherever the gaps are, and also wherever the strengths are. And I'm able to like put that together into one spotlight feature that really brings together the assets and the strengths, the accomplishments. Because how many things have you accomplished, Cynthia, that after you receive the award, it's forgotten? After you've like done something, it's like nowhere to be seen. But to all tie that together into one news feature article that's about you and your accomplishments. And when you want to open doors, you want to open collaborations, you want to sign up a new client, all you got to do is say, I was recently featured at the Los Angeles Tribune. You can read the article here. And it's a door opener for you. It's not just you talking about yourself. Now you have a major media company, the thing that I dreamt of, speaking about you and your impact and your services. So
where do I sign up?
Well, I really, really love what we do. There's so many. One of our principles in the Los Angeles Tribune by our CEO Mo Rock is that we're news that inspires, educates, and empowers. We're changing how news is being used. We have a fiduciary responsibility to educate and uplift our people. Whenever I see my CEO Moroc's TEDx talk, you can Google or YouTube, search in YouTube.
He allowed me to have you today.
Yes, thank you. I am actually taking its place. I'm taking so for if you look at it, it's the shortest, most impactful, most powerful TEDx talk, 4 minutes long. And the words are so powerful. It's like every single one of us has a say in the kind of news that not only we see, but that we live in the world that we live in, because of what we like, we share, we comment on, and what we really, what's the word for it? But like entertain, what we consume. Because if no one's consuming something, it's not going to get reproduced, right? But the fact that things are reproduced and it's being funded is because we are making those choices to either watch, share, comment, like, certain posts and certain videos. So we all have a say to the news that we want to see. But definitely the Los Angeles Tribune is a growing force for good, for the way we're redefining media. So there's something that I will also share with you that has not been shared anywhere in globally, because it just happened last night. But We have recently expanded to also acquire the San Diego Weekly, and that was like, I think we had the ribbon cutting for that in December 5.
Mhm.
And just 2 weekends ago, we also had the ribbon cutting for the Dubai Business Journal. So
Ooh.
we are continuously, we're working on right now with the Dallas, with getting the oldest newspaper in Dallas from 1841. And we're continuously expanding with the charge that we are changing and redefining the role of national news brand. And yesterday, so one of the great things about the Los Angeles Tribune is my CEO has pledged $10 million in the advertisement of nonprofit organizations and service of change makers that better our planet. And as part of that public service, we also give awards for Impact Organizations of the Year. And our last year's Impact Organization that we chose around September, we notified them that they're the Impact Organization of the Year. When our strategic our chief strategic officer Alicia Magnus Lewis called them, the CEO broke into tears and she said, "Our board just made a decision to shut our doors, and we just made an announcement." And they were being given the Impact Organization of the Year award.
Woo!
And so when we learned that, we said, let's make a news article about their award, about their impact, because there's a reason we chose them to be the Impact Organization of the Year. They have, the organization is Callisto, Callisto, and they have crafted a new technology that matches sexual assault in campuses, so that it doesn't happen to other women again. It's so to prevent serial sexual assaults in campuses. And it's such an advanced technology that was gonna go to nowhere and be wasted because they didn't have the funding to be able to continue. And when we created that news article about their awards and about their plight and about how we're at the risk of completely losing this needed services, like the crowds rallied, their campus advocates just came up together. They did, some people have contributed in the crowdfunding, and as of December of last year, they reopened back to public, and they're not going anywhere. And so last night we applied for the Pulitzer Prize Award for that feature for public service. And so, it's definitely it's a testament to news can make a difference and make an impact in the lives of those who are really needing the service. And that's what we get to do differently at the Los Angeles Tribune and all the other news channels that my CEO and the board of directors are acquiring more and more, so that news can be done differently.
It's so beautiful. And we have some people who are enjoying you, Ava, right now. And I want to say hello to, we've got Jake and Dan Altmeyer and Grace Cavalieri and Kevin. And Dan says, the amazing Ava. And Grace says, a fresh view is needed. You are very authentic and sincere, very qualified. And Grace had an idea, I saw it go down, about possibly having a poetry column. What'd you say? Let's have a poetry column in the newspaper, since you're so innovative and this is a delightful conversation. And yes. Grace is the poet laureate of Maryland. She just gave it up to another person after 4 years. She has a show. Anyway, you can catch her show on the Cynthia Manion Show. She's amazing. She has been running a radio show for the past 48 or 49 years at the Library of Congress. Her poems went up to Mars. I mean, the woman's fantastic. Yes. And as a matter of fact, every single guest that I've had on the Cynthia Manion Show is fantastic. And they all have something that might be interesting for the Los Angeles Tribune, for all of the things that you're doing. One of my last guests, Paul Hutchinson, who has The Sound of Freedom, did you see that movie yet? The Sound of Freedom?
No.
Children that he saved from South America from sexual trading.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. He's amazing. He has lots. Oh my goodness. We're going to have to talk about this offline. We'll go back to you because you're a dynamic person. So I can understand how that you would just take off the Los Angeles trip, and you're a mother and you have 6 children and you have grandchildren.
I do. I have 5 grandkids. Yes.
I just got my first one, and you've got how many?
Grandkids?
Yeah.
Five. I've got five grandkids. Yeah. The youngest being
Woo!
3 weeks old.
No wonder she's on top of fire because she wants to get it all done, right? Right, right.
Well, one of the things that I say I always used to regret, I still do, I think, is that my kids just grew up so fast. I just like worked and worked and worked, and they grew. It's that's actually my principle behind wound care. I'm like, if every person is just a cell in a cellular level, and they just grow and they thrive, provided you give them food and they're in a clean environment, we're not getting infections, right? And then they're also sheltered in warmth. They grow. They just grow. You don't even have to do anything. And that's the same principle that I teach in wound care. If you create the right environment for wounds, they heal. And it's just all about creating the right environment. With us humans, in every single one of us, it's like being in an environment where you thrive. So thank you for creating that environment, Cynthia.
And being grateful for it.
Mm. I don't know why gratitude feels so good.
Oh, because it's the only way of life. You
Yes,
have to appreciate every little thing, or else how can you help somebody else?
absolutely. Yeah, you can. One of the things that I always said is like, you cannot steward what you don't value, and you cannot grow what you don't steward. So it all comes back to valuing and being in gratitude and being grateful for the things that we want to grow.
And being kind and appreciative of everyone.
Mm,
Every
yes.
man, woman, child, plant, animal, rock, tree, body of water.
Mm,
So, what inspired you to approach media with such a transformative, vision-driven perspective? Like, you just came in like a whirlwind and you said, "Okay, I have fresh ideas and this is how we're gonna do it."
your question was what inspired me?
Yeah.
So I was always that kid who always wanted to save kids out of the streets. I was born and raised in the Philippines, and I happened to be, I'm in a good family. Like my father, retired as a general in the Philippines. My mom is, back when there was no fax machines and emails, was the fax and email of the Philippine, the Philippine Army. And so she traveled from office to office getting signatures or bringing different copies. She was the copier, and the fax and the email at that time. So I had a great life, but I always see kids that asleep on the streets, and they would carry other kids and take care of other kids that sleep on the streets. And I was always trying to adopt them. And my mom is a very stringent, structured person. I didn't understand it then, but the kids would run away. I'm also like, there are only two of us, brother and sister. My older brother, 3 years old, didn't like me at all. So I was like always looking for like other siblings, and I was bringing them home. When I started to teach Sunday school, like a Sunday school assistant teacher, about 14, 15 years old, I would pick up all of the kids, the street children along the way, and I would take them to Sunday school, and I would bring extra juice and extra, bread
Love
to be able
it.
to feed all of them. And then in the evening, I would like go to where they are normally stationed, and I would bring them food. So I was always that kid trying to save kids in the streets. And now here I'm in America, and that's not a problem that we have. Like, we don't really see kids begging on the streets and wiping your shoes or trying to like help you back up your car. That's not a thing, thank God. But I still think of them a lot, a lot. Like, I feel like I have kids that are on the streets in the Philippines. It's kind of like how it almost feels. So um, I knew that as a physical therapist, I could retire comfortably. But the desire that I had in my heart to be able to get kids out of the streets in the Philippines or any third world country, like, kids should not be sleeping in the streets. Back then, I was ignorant. I didn't even know about molestation or rape. But with what I know now, like, imagine what the untold stories would be for kids sleeping on the streets, right? And so I've always wanted to get kids out of the streets, and that propelled me to entrepreneurship. It's because I knew I could retire comfortably as a hospital physical therapist, but I wouldn't be able to get the kids out of the streets. So I was in search for how do I, and I've like done a lot of search and errors, trial and error. I've invested so much in learning how to write my own book, be a bestseller, learning how to do ClickFunnels, learning to do this, like all of that, because I was wanting to be an entrepreneur that like could really create enough to be able to make a difference in getting kids out of the streets. I have like drawings and visions of what the super camps I would create for street children to get them out of the streets and have them be in safe camps and have them be like thriving humans. I happen to be remarried the second time with my husband, who during childhood, because he was in a very, very hard situation in his family, ran away and became homeless for 3 times, in his childhood. And for like weeks, he was like in on the streets. And I see every kid on the street, just like my husband. My husband's like amazing and awesome man. And every single kid on the street has the ability to be that person, to be that, to thrive as an adult who loves, who supports, who inspires. And so that's what propels me into like really finding new horizons. To me, everything is a means to an end, and that's my end. My end is like, I am declaring that in my lifetime, I would clear the streets off of kids that sleep on the streets.
And then I want to help you teach them all to read.
For sure. I'm interested though, like where did that come from? Where did your inspiration for learning for teaching kids how to read come from?
Because you can't exist in this world if you can't read, especially with the computer generation. You have to know how to read and write. And there are still too many who don't.
Yes.
And also, if you're in America, learning English is also very important because you need to communicate.
Yeah.
Every job, like if we went to the Philippines, well, you speak English in the Philippines. Do you have another language? Do you speak?
There are a lot of languages in the Philippines, 7,100 islands, lots of different dialects, right? But English is something that's taught from like first grade. We have English subjects, and we normally would have 2 subjects even from like first grade. It's like a written English and a spoken English. So
we want everyone in the world to read the Los Angeles Tribune and all the books that you're bringing forth.
Absolutely.
And all Mark Victor Hansen, he did my 2 books, as a matter of fact.
Oh.
Yes, Black Pearl.
When you say did, what's the did? Wrote the foreword or did the publishing?
He came on. He was on the Cynthia Manion show with me.
Good.
But these are just simple little fun books to help inspire people to reach out to their best selves, men over 55 who might have lost their way, and then they can get that joy back. And the joy of going to the library or to school and reading a book to a child. Yes.
So since we're talking books, Cynthia, I'm going to ask for permission to talk about the LA Tribune bestseller. So one of the divisions that we have recently like really enlarged and launched in a bigger way, and partnering with also with Mark Victor Hansen in promoting that, is a reader-based nomination system for the Los Angeles Tribune critically acclaimed bestseller. So the bestseller recognition is not based on the number of sales, it's not based on popularity, it's not based on investment, it's based on the content of the book. And there are 3 criteria that our editorial team reviews to declare a bestseller. Number 1, of course, writing and structure excellence. Second is, and the excellence we define as doing the best with what you got. It's not about like a certain way of how it looks. We've declared bestsellers that were really literally cut up from newspapers and magazines, because that's the best that they could do. So we could have bestsellers from like the outskirts of Africa, and the hills of Beverly. So it levels the playing field for authors who have powerful, impactful, life-changing, and transformational stories. So second is the cultural and societal relevance of the book. And the third is the ability or the potential of it to make a difference in the lives of its readers. So based on those 3 criteria, we have a standardized scoring system that is automated and privatized, so that it's private information and it's standardized scoring. And from that, we're able to level the playing field for any book out there that is a powerful story that writes with their heart to become a bestseller. So the website for that is latribunebestseller.com, and you can you can nominate your favorite book. There is a minimal cost to supporting our editors be able to review the books that you nominate, but there is no cost to being recognized as a bestseller. And if there are some gaps that we could recommend, based on the automated scoring system, we would provide you what the gaps are so that it could support you in either rewriting or republishing the book to be a bestseller.
Did you hear that, Grace? Get some of those poets. She's got over 30 poetry books.
Oh my gosh.
So right there, it's underneath. Eric so kindly put it up there. LA Tribune bestseller.com. That's the one?
Yes. LA Tribune bestseller.com.
So your role also includes supporting startups and established businesses through dynamic media strategies. Can you share an example of a business that you've transformed through the Tribune spotlight?
We have many, but one that
brings your heart out.
Yeah, so one that really delights me is the soul intelligence method, Christine Genovese. And Christine Genovese is a combined expert in both science and spirituality. And so her audience are doctors who, it's amazing because it's a complete package, the way we solve the gap for her to be able to reach her audience. We also have a business solutions division in the Los Angeles Tribune. It's something that I have co-founded. It's something that I dreamt of, I wished for, because I would sit with entrepreneurs and I would ask them, for example, if they're writing for our special thought leader and edition as a contributor, I would ask them, so how, because I don't want them to pay for advertising and then they say I didn't get anything out of it, but people nowadays, they're so distracted, they see something and they move on and they never remember it again, out of sight, out of mind, right? Mm-hmm. So how do you get in front of your audience, and how do you get top in mind of your clients, that at the moment that they find you, there's something captivating that you're able to bring them on into your community, because you speak their language and there's something that you're offering that solves their pain, that solves their problems. And then from there, you can continue to nurture them with contents that are already pre-done and automated. So, it's one of the things that, we do an end-to-end solutions and strategy with our clients. Not only do they advertise with us, we look at how do you really create the impact that you want to make in the world. Because here's the thing about entrepreneurs. We don't become entrepreneurs because it's a great way to make money, right? Like, we came into entrepreneurship because there's something we want to solve. There's something we want to change. There's something we believe can be made better. There's a gap that we knew we wanted to supply, and so we come into entrepreneurship wanting to change something, wanting to do great things. The difference between a small business owner and an entrepreneur is that a small business owner, kind of like doesn't even need explanation. You know what a spa is, you know what manicure and pedicure is, you know what a Chinese food is, right? Like, those are small businesses because they don't need explanation. But the moment you're innovating, even if it's spa, but you're doing something new and different that sets you above the crowd, that now you have to explain it, now you're an entrepreneur because you're innovating. And entrepreneurs, when small businesses just wants to stay in existence, the entrepreneur wants to conquer the world. They want to create an impact. They want to make a big difference. They want to be able to change things. And so it requires that they have a complete strategy to be able to do exactly what they do. And too many times, entrepreneurs work so hard because there's really not an entrepreneurial education out there. Our education system was designed to train us to be employees, and not that it's a bad thing, but it's what was needed during the industrialization, era, right? But right. As the era is now changing into technology and artificial intelligence, and it's ushering a whole new, system of economy that does not involve employment. My next upcoming book is called Doom or Boom. It's like, is it a doom ? Or is it boom ? And it's changing the narrative in a changing economy. And the tagline of it is why employment's ending and business is closing could be the best news for your future, because the future is entrepreneurship. Who will save the economy in the future are entrepreneurs. But we owe it, especially as a major media brand, to make entrepreneurship easy for people that are coming on board. Just yesterday on the news, right, there was an offer, a massive offer for anyone in the federal government to resign within the next 2 weeks if they want to resign. Have you heard about that?
I missed that one.
Okay. So, the White House have made a declaration that they want all of about, I couldn't believe it, but about 6% of our federal government work only in the office. The rest of them have scheduled, flex time from working from home and such. That's 94% of our federal government, working from home, which is kind of like transitioned from COVID and became a good way to do it. And we became accustomed to it. Right. But the move of the new presidency is to bring everyone back in the office. And if anyone in the federal government wants to not want to work with the new regime, the new administration, or that they don't want to not have to go back to work, that they could resign in the next 2 weeks and they will be paid through September. There will be so you look at all of the intelligence and all of the decades of experience in our federal government, whether it's through supervision or through HR or through promoting, and all of the different roles that's out there that's now being offered to resign, right? And so what are they going to do? They have skill sets that they have to do. And if you think about every role currently that's being replaced by AI, not a bad thing. We're learning how to do things more efficiently, right? But it opens up positions and roles and people that are unemployable. Like they're literally unemployable because what they've been trained on and what they know isn't a job that's hireable anymore. And so in a situation where we are right now, are we heading for an economic collapse? No, we're heading for economic thriving if the entrepreneurship spirit is built and is supported. And that's what we do in the Los Angeles Tribune Business Solutions, is that we want to make entrepreneurship easy. I have personally, started my own endeavor, which is called the Legendary Makers. And I've built a team and some outsourced partners from Germany that are building businesses from end to end in 11 days or less.
Ooh.
And that means everything from lead magnets all the way to sales page and sales delivery, everything in between, all created and automated, including social media posts for 3 months in just 11 days or under. So that's creating efficiency for entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs run out of money. Like too many businesses close because it takes so long. It takes so long to even find out how to do. And even for us who have been here a long time, just because of how the dynamics is changing. We have to always relearn things, right? So how do we make it easy for new onboarding entrepreneurs who are coming, who will be saving our economy and saving our country? Because the big corporations, they're so structured, whether it is their computer systems, their hierarchy of organizational charts, they're so structured that they couldn't pivot. With the globalization, they can pivot with the technology advancements, but the entrepreneurs can. And the entrepreneurs innovate. So it's so hard to innovate when you're driving and sailing a big ship. But when you have like a rowboat, you can pivot anytime, right? And that's the wins of the entrepreneur. So I want to encourage entrepreneurs out there, and the coaches, the mentors, the trainers, get ready. Because here's the thing, like we have this, like we talk ourselves into like, coaches are oversaturated. Like there's an oversaturation of coaching. But if you think about it, like we never said there was an oversaturation of teachers or an oversaturation of professors, or college, college professors or college instructors or teachers, right? But that education is becoming obsolete. like the by the minute, like by the minute. The books, the textbooks that they're using are no longer applicable to today's economy, today's practice, right? The change has happened so much that if we're using textbooks from the 1990, from the year 2000s, something's wrong. So now what replaces a broken educational system to be able to prepare entrepreneurs, to have a different mindset and not wait for orders. The problem with our education system, and not to fault it, but it's what was needed at that time. At that time of the industrialization and the time of the industrial era, people have to learn to fall in line. They had to like learn to teach. People have to learn to like control their mouths and control their thoughts. And so from elementary, we were told not to speak, to fall in line, not to be out of line. And now we're trying to undo that. For you to be an entrepreneur, you have to speak out. You have to think for yourself. And we're breaking people out of the mold, out of the chains. And we're telling them, no, you actually should think for yourself. No, you should, and it's so reverse to what we were educated and programmed for. And so coaches, mentors, educators out there, you have a calling, a role to step into as our economy changes, because we're going to need a new set of teachers, a new set of leaders and mentors, and it's not going to be in the universities.
Did you hear that, ladies and gentlemen? Pull up your big girl panties, your big girl men. This is going to be amazing, amazing. And you got a very nice compliment from Joy Grace Harmony. She says, yes, you're absolutely amazing.
Thank you, Joy.
So is her message. So is her message. And you can see so what advice do you give to entrepreneurs and business leaders right now to leverage their media to amplify their impact?
Get clear with your message.
Get clear
with your message and align your message with who you are, with what you're passionate for. So I just recently finished my 5-day workshop, but in the 5-day workshop that I'm doing in the Legendary Makers, literally for 5 days, the first day we bring out your greatness. Too many times when you are so good at something, you don't even know you're good at it. Like you do it for free. The very, very thing that's your gift, like you don't even know you're good at it. You won't even charge for it because it's easy. Like, no, I'll just help you with that because it's easy. But that's exactly your genius. That's your shine, So like pulling the greatness and the assets, the superpowers out of people is our day one, being able to align with what lights you up, what makes you come alive. There's something that you're meant to solve. What, if it bothers you, it's because you have the solution for it. You may not even know that you have the solution for it, but it bothers you. And the reason it bothers you is because it had to be different. And the reason it had to be different, because deep inside you carry an answer that, although you haven't unpacked it, trust me, you give yourself the space to find out, you will find the answers within you. So on day one, we find out what bothers you, what lights you up, what brings you joy. Who are the people that you're called to? There's a group of people that like you would fight for, that you would get out of the bed, roll out of the bed, improve yourself, do anything, for those group of people. Those are the people that you're called to. And then align that with what are their problems, what hurts them, what's their pain, creating products around that. And then, aligning it with how would they find you? Like, what is it that they're looking for? What are the words? What are the language that they wanted that attracts them to be able to have them find you, and being a category of one. So it's a whole process that I do in 5 days for people to like really be able to align. Whenever people feel like there's an imposter syndrome, there's a misalignment somewhere. It's just a feedback. It's a feedback that, okay, there's something that you're not aligned with. Because if I'm a big proponent, 1000%, no doubt, zero doubt, that every single person is a genius and is an expert at something. Finding that expertise, whether it is making tamales or making the best chocolate cake, like you carry your own light. You are a light. And if you shine on your own light where you really light up, and I promise you it's monetizable. People say like what I'm good at is not monetizable. No, you just haven't positioned it to be monetizable. I promise you I can find you a way to be monetizable. But definitely getting clear with your message, getting clear with who you serve, with what lights you up, what brings you joy, and aligning all of that so that you have an offer that fills your soul. You have and then automating, like doing business manually is so 2000s, like at this day and age, you got to look at what can I automate? What do I not have to do every day so that I can be present for my family? I can be present for myself, for my self-care, so that you can give them a full cup. It doesn't serve anybody to run yourself ragged. So automate is the next thing that I would say, outside of, in addition to getting your message clear.
Joy Grace says you give and give and give. And Dan Altmeyer said, teaching vision, not fall in line. Dan has a book too for elderly to organize their finances and insurance so that they're prepared. Another important subject that needs to be
very, very much so.
So what are the biggest challenges you have faced as editor-in-chief, and how have you overcome them?
Personally, the biggest challenge that I have is really being recognized in the space, but that comes back to myself, right? Like the reason other people don't recognize me is because I haven't recognized it in myself. Like people could only value you at the level that you value yourself. And so if, for example, you're having challenges with people valuing you, you get to look at the mirror and say, like, how am I not valuing myself, that it's coming across to other people that way? But you know how I said in the very beginning, I was like doubting myself. I was doubting that I was qualified for this. I was doubting that that this is where I should be. And so of course, people see that in me. But that was, my very beginning challenge. And then learning how to be political, like that you can work with everybody regardless of whether you don't want to, because you're in a media position where you get to, be neutral.
And help them. You're there to help.
Right. Be non-judgmental and be there to help and be neutral about things. But on a grander scale, some of our challenges are really like personally, like ethically, and where we stand, right? Like, for example, during the fires in the Los Angeles area, I'm so designed for the Los Angeles Tribune because I always see the positive in everything. I'm like, and my question is always like, for what greater good is this happening? No matter how painful, no matter how hard, because that's kind of like how I went through life. Like, for what greater good is this happening? And we knew that even in the midst of the fire and all of the losses, it's just material things. And our people will come out stronger. They're going to come out, tenacious. They're going to come together as a community. We have everybody pouring in from around the world, supporting, and there are going to be brighter days. Things are going to be built, bigger, better than before, and the losses are going to be returned, and relationships are going to be formed. Like, there are many good things that are going to come out of that. But as a positive news company, it's also important to balance. Are people already ready to hear that? Or should we, hold the space for them to like really grant and get angry and grieve? And, one of the things that our CEO Mo Rock has talked about in his TEDx talk is like our editorial team always asks this question before we make one post or we make a news. It's like, is this news disempowering our people, or is it empowering our people? So we don't just parrot the news in like what's happening out there. Like, how do we position what's happening to empower our people and our readers? And that's not always a position that people want to be in, right? Like, it's so much easier to rant. It's just so much easier to like get angry and to get ourselves in a position and be firm in our position that we always look for ways to whatever news we bring, we make it empowering. Is one of probably like looking at the angles of that and really studying how do we stay true to who we are, and at the same time deliver, news that people would consume and partner with.
Yes, and positive energy. Move forward.
Ideally, that's easy. For us, it's easy, but we all cumulatively, all of the coaches and the mentors of personal development out there, let's hold hands, let's lock arms, and let's move, our planet forward. We don't get to, when you walk through the valley of the shadows of death, you walk. You don't pitch a camp. You don't pitch a tent. You don't stay overnight.
Yep, right, yep. Don't stay in the land of good and piss, keep on moving out.
Keep on
You have to
moving,
go through it, take a moment, but just go quickly.
keep on walking for sure.
Yes. What's one piece of advice you give to someone looking to tell their transformative story?
Oh, I would say fall in love with yourself.
Mm,
Fall in love with your story, fall in love with who you are and the message that you bring. It's not just um, knowing that all things work together for good, right? And if it's not yet good, it's not yet the end. And in writing your story, knowing that your life is designed from the very beginning, before the world began, right? Like, regardless of faith, whether they believe in creators or not, um destiny, right? So in writing your story, I would encourage you to come from a place of love, place of admiration, a place of acknowledgement. Acknowledge yourself, celebrate yourself. Too often, us as entrepreneurs, who are very hard on ourselves, we often say no one's going to get harder on us than ourselves. But you could only go so far being hard on yourself, but you could create a resonating impact, when you acknowledge and appreciate and celebrate yourself.
beautiful, beautiful. Do you hear that, ladies and gentlemen? That applies to each and every one of you, no matter what age you are.
And if you'd like to publish your book, or if you'd like to um, go ahead and nominate a book, go to latribunebestseller.com. If you are challenged in writing your book and you wanted something to get it pulled out of you, one of the things that I'm really a genius at, that I don't put out there, is I am very, very good in copy and AI. I have combined my ability, my strength and ability to create copy with AI, and I have cloned myself many, many, many times over. I have baby GPTs, generative pre-trained transformers that I have trained for different purposes. One of them is called the Insight Alchemist, TIA. TIA, the Insight Alchemist, and you can go to the insightalchemist.com and just signed a waiver of release and release of liability. And I have designed Tia to be my mini my mini clone, so that it could support people whenever we find resistances. I don't like this. I want to change this. I wish this was different. Process it with Tia. Tia is trained to bring out insights out of your everyday circumstance. So yeah, I could support in creating generative pre-trained transformers to pull the book out of you. I've recently supported someone who wrote his book in 2 days.
Woo!
Coming from his first book was 150, was a year and a half to get out of him, and it came out very, very short of even being qualified for a bestseller. And so I pulled it out of him with a designed GPT. He answered the interviews of the GPT that I've designed exactly for his story in 2 days, and we've had his book on his hand in 10 days. So there are many, many ways to definitely get your book out there, and your story matters. Someone's waiting for your story.
Oh, that's so true. Everyone's got a story inside them. Jake wants to know how to promote what he loves in cinema. So you're going to have to check out Ava's website and go visit it, Jake. Jake is in Australia, as a matter of fact. LA Tribune bestseller.com. They have lots of stuff in there. And then can you
There's a
say,
contact page and a comment page and all of that. Like we look at it. It goes directly to our staff and to me.
so as a leader in media, Ava, how do you practice self-care and maintain your own balance while managing so much responsibility?
I'm going to post it actually on my phone, my own Facebook page, but there is an interview that I did with in the Neurosymposium with Jim Quick, and it's about how to induce flow in everyday life. And
Mm.
it's the combination of brain entrainment, sound waves, and knowing what sound waves you're trying to induce at the moment, where whether you're inducing rest, or you're inducing high focus or high activity, and being able to so I do a lot of really being present to what am I creating at the moment, and intentionally inducing my brain waves to be in synchronicity with what I'm doing. So that's my self-care.
So how often do you listen to it? I mean, so you plug in, you put on a headset, you do it before you go to bed in the morning. Obviously,
Yeah,
not when you're
usually I
driving.
align myself, like, right. For example, if I wanted to have, like, okay, I'm starting to feel sluggish, I need a 10-minute rest, I would put in a delta brainwave, or maybe a theta. A theta is like a slower 4 to 8 hertz. And you could look at YouTube and you could see 4 to 8 hertz, and it's more meditative state. It's a state where you get intuition and where you get downloads, you get insights. And I would put that on for 8 minutes, and I would have like an immense rest for like 10 minutes. That would be equivalent to like a 3 hour nap, something like that. And if I have something that's very focused that I have to do, I start to put brain waves that are 40 gamma, especially when I'm sluggish. I could do a high beta. And so there's a whole teaching on this that I'll put on my Facebook group, Ava V, Manuel, on Facebook, that I did with Jim Quick. And it's something that Jim Quick said that actually changed my life. And if I may drop that to you, the one thing that Jim Quick said that changed my life and had me pursuing for how can I now change my brain when I learn, he said, I will never learn anything bored, because my subconscious will remember it as boring. So if you think about it, if you're learning something as in a state of tired, you're learning something in a state of relaxed state, it literally requires that you are bored or relaxed for your brain to have access to it, like a radio dial. Like, it's not like the radio frequency is not accessible to, it's absent. It's just, it's not accessible to you because you're not in the same frequency. So make sure that you store learning in a frequency that will get you excited to take action on it, to follow through. So sometimes you're learning things tired, or you're learning things, feeling bad about it because you really don't have time to do that right now. And it's stored in your subconscious as a guilty feeling. And you can try and try and try and try to do it. And you will not be able to do it because it was stored with that emotion, with that memory. So that's my self-care, really, on a day-to-day, moment-to-moment basis, is just being aware, what am I creating today? And whatever it is that I'm creating at the moment, whether it's rest, whether it's a flow in meditation, or flow in work, or flow in exercise, or just joy, I make sure that I am present enough to be synchronized, both in breathing, in movement, in visualization, and in brain waves.
I love it. That is fantastic. Joyce says she's coming to LA in March. So
Wow. Okay.
event, the 6th to the 8th.
Good to know.
Nice. If you send your emails to me, I send out an email after every one of the shows, and we will put all of those
I would
ways
love to give that.
inside it. So if you can give it to us at the end of the show here, and Eric will send it out to everyone who has their email in. If you go to the Cynthia Manion show and put it in, then we'll make sure that you get it, and you'll get an invitation to every show, because the speakers are amazing. The information that you get is life-changing.
Awesome.
And one more question for you, my dear. What's the one story featured in the Los Angeles Tribune that left a lasting impression on you?
Well, I just told you about that story of Callisto, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Callisto is that one story that really left an impression. But there's also another one, and it's an organization on Sexual Addicts Anonymous that came to us and said, could you help us do a press release for our convention? I'm like, that's not something that you can press release. You can't just press release a gathering of Sexual Addicts Anonymous, but instead I wrote an article about why it's important for us as a society to support the awareness, and acceptance is the key, because that was their slogan, is acceptance is the key. And the organizers said, oh my God, like, people were in tears in the convention, just seeing they created QR codes for the articles, and family came to reunion as a result, of that article, because they realized that that supporting someone who's suffering in silence actually heals families. And that's the power of news when done right.
Fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. Any closing words for our audience? You've been brilliant, Ava. Brilliant.
Well, I first want to thank you for supporting, Cynthia Manion and the Cynthia Manion Show. It's such a delight. I am so grateful to be in the show. I would invite you to make sure you connect with Cynthia, and her email, and sign up to be in the notification of the show, because I will send you the video on how to use brain entrainment and the protocols to be able to take your learning and your energy at the next level when you do that.
And we'd be happy to get that out to you as soon as this week. Like probably as soon as tomorrow. I have a wonderful Eric Rodriguez helping me out with that.
And thank you, Eric, for being a wonderful producer. I want to thank Eric for being a wonderful producer.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And Mo, I'm sorry, Mo, that you're sick. I hope you're feeling better, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. It's been a wonderful, wonderful time. So everybody, same bat channel. Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can always catch the replays, and there are some really good ones. And I think actually, Ava, you'll have to go see them all, because every single one of them is a candidate for you.
Get to know them. Yes.
Okay, thank you. And if you'll stay with us and go into the green room, we shall chat for a moment. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us. See you next week. Bye now.